Thanks for joining me in this segment of Belly Flopping into Mysticism. In this segment, I want to share a couple of stories that address how even dogs get into the mix. Over the weekend, my brother stopped in to visit. He lives a bit out of town. He has a border collie named Mabel that he's had for several years. They came in to visit a couple of years ago when he had accepted a job in a different community. And while he was getting set up there, I ended up dog sitting who I call my canine niece. It's my brother's daughter, my brother's canine daughter. And so I got to dog sit Mabel for a few months through the winter while he was getting established and getting set up, working, he was working long shifts and stuff. So they came over to visit. Mabel loves visiting me, but now that she's back with her dad, if he makes a move towards the door, she's like right there. So after a visit, they ended up, of course, leaving and running some other errands in town. I came onto the computer, decided to play a couple of my word games, kind of a Wordle type puzzle where you solve multiple Wordle words at the same time. And I chuckled because one of the 5-letter words was buddy. To a lot of people, that's not significant, but 2.5 years ago, my brother's dog, he was a pit bull named Buddy, passed away. He was only 8.5 years old. And so just having seen Mabel and my brother for the first time in a couple of months, and then coming across that reference to Buddy just a few minutes after they left, it's again, just one of those kind of goofy connections, as I call them. And it just reminded me of what a beautiful spirit Buddy had. A day or two later, I got to thinking about a couple other stories that involve Buddy. The last day that Mabel stayed with me over this winter time, I'd take her regularly out to an off-leash dog park. I'd gotten in the habit of taking her to a different one towards the end of our time together. Has a little bit of elevation gain, some rolling hills, beautiful views of the mountains. And as we were walking back over this rise, came this dog running right towards me, full bore. It was a pit bull with the same tan and white type markings as Buddy. So here I'd been dog sitting Mabel for a few months. My brother would come to visit 1 week a month during his time off, so they did get to spend time together. But that last day, here comes this dog that looked so much like Buddy, it made me do a double take. And the way the dog ran up right to me, the owners were out of sight over, probably at least 40 yards away, kind of over this shallow hill. And this dog came running up, just loving and wanted me to pet it, and all exuberant, very much like Buddy. It was almost as though this dog was saying, hey, on behalf of Buddy, hey, I'm here. I've been having fun playing with you guys. Thanks for all the fun. And it was just beautiful. And later, I actually did get a picture of this dog later when I showed my brother. He also looked, he was like, wow, that's the dog that came up. That really does look like Buddy. And on the way home, I even caught a song that reminds me of my brother, Jeff, who's on the other side. So it was almost like Jeff and Buddy were there going, hey, we've been hanging out with you. It was a day or so after that I remembered, oh yeah, there was a story. So that story was the end of the time that I dog sat Mabel. There was also a story from the first couple days, a few months earlier, where my brother lives is near a river, and it gets, with a spring runoff, it creates a channel and it creates an island that he said Buddy had so much fun playing at this island. He named it, I don't know what it actually might be named, but he named it Buddy's Island in honor of his dog, who was just so exuberant exploring this area. So after Buddy died and my brother took the job out of state, he showed me before he left, he showed me where Buddy's Island was. So a couple days after I started dog sitting, I was staying at my brother's place, and we went out to Buddy's Island. And Mabel loves chasing rocks. She'd bark, 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 bark. and had so much fun. Finally, I had to call her over, and she just stood in the water and barked at me. And I was like, get over here. It's time to go. And so here's this dog dripping wet, comes running up. And in front of us, we had probably about a half mile to walk back to the car. But in front of us was the dry river channel that is filled with water in the spring with the spring runoff. But that time of year, it was completely dry, but thousands of rocks. I don't know how wide this channel was, 20 yards, something. And it went on and on, just rocks. And so as I was walking and Mabel's kind of trotting along, I happened to look down and saw almost a fist-sized rock, roundish, but it seemed to have two tones on it. It had kind of a dark red and then also some dark gray charcoal splotches on it. And I thought, that's interesting. I pick it up, and on this one side, there were 4 splotches in this charcoal dark gray in the shape of a paw print from Buddy's Island. I grabbed it, of course. And so I saved it, and I asked my brother, I showed it to him, and I said, now, do you want this? He said, heck yeah. I mean, the story behind it is so great, because if he didn't, I was going to keep it, but it was his dog and I wanted him to have it. So now when I visit him, I see a picture of Buddy and I see this rock. So even those connections that I notice can happen with animals. And it just reminds me of the spirit, this loving spirit. I mean, Buddy was the kind of dog that would show you the silverware. He'd get so excited and so happy, and just so loving. And so those stories just are a way for me to connect to those memories. And in this, odd, sure, but I think beautiful way. So Buddy, if that was you, thanks so much. Hope you got a kick out of the stories. Have a great day.